Hey there! So before we go any further, I want to talk about the hair situation because I feel like I've never had it in a bun before on this channel. In the 500 videos I've made or whatever, it's never been up in this way. I've had it in a ponytail, I think, but not a bun. So to reassure you, there's the bun. Here's the little hair that's poking out underneath the bun because I cannot stand having hair flat against my neck for reasons related to this video. I bring this up both to assure you I didn't cut it off and also as a segue to talk about today's topic, which is dysphoria. Trans and non-binary stuff a lot, and I think in my Europe footage thing, with the 15-minute plane ride taxi thing with my friend from school, but I've never talked about what it is, and it's pretty central to the trans experience, so I thought I would talk about it today. So a lot of people debate over whether you need dysphoria to be trans or not. And my gut reaction is no, but that depends on how you define dysphoria. Because a lot of people use very strict definitions as a way to gatekeep who can be members of the community, and a lot of medicalized definitions of dysphoria are not broad enough to cover all experiences that are trans experiences. However, there is a definition of dysphoria that I feel is broad enough to be like, if you don't have this, you can't be trans. There's just literally no way. So then on some level I think you do have to have dysphoria to be trans, but not what is commonly labeled as dysphoria. So in that argument I tend to fall on the no, you don't need it side, just for simplicity's sake. So dysphoria doesn't also have a single definition, but I find dysphoria as the incongruence between your gender identity and either your gender expression or society's interpretation of your gender expression. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. Basically, dysphoria, it's a sense of wrongness. Like, this is not the way things are supposed to be. And so there are two types of dysphoria. There's body dysphoria, which is this is not the way that my body is supposed to be. I recognize this is mine, most of the time. People who are trans recognize that that's their body, though sometimes in dysphoric episodes they don't. That's a little complicated and a little tangential and not exactly relevant, but they know for the most part that their body is theirs, and they understand that they should not mess with it themselves, but they also understand it is not supposed to be that way. And so a lot of times this is what causes trans people to go on hormones, or to get trans men to get top surgery, or things of that nature. Then the other group is social dysphoria, which is where you have all of this discomfort from people and how they perceive your gender identity. And that is why people use different pronouns and use bathrooms and sometimes people don't have body dysphoria, but social dysphoria is enough to cause them to take hormones or have surgery or things of that nature. Chandler Wilson is a non-binary YouTuber who recently started testosterone, not because of body dysphoria, but because of social dysphoria. So there's a lot of questions people have about what exactly should be covered in terms of trans healthcare. And one of the reasons why I'm going to the college I'm going to is because it will cover hormonal replacement therapy, or HRT, for trans students, should they feel that that is something that they need in their transition. Also, not all non-binary people use the term transition to describe how they combat dysphoria, because a lot of people feel that is a very binary label. I don't know. Anyway, this is not me saying like I'm gonna pursue HRT, just that was an indicator of how supportive the college is. And I really admire that they do that for their students. And the option is there. But a lot of conservatives tend to believe that transition is cosmetic, or worse, mutilation. Specifically like physical transition, as opposed to just changing your name and your pronouns and what bathroom you use, or even like cutting or growing out your hair, or wearing or stopping wearing makeup, or binding or changing what clothing you wear. But like HRT and hormones and all of these things are mutilating healthy body parts. And to a certain degree, that's not an inaccurate view. Take anybody who is pursuing some sort of gender-confirming surgery. In order to have that surgery, the tissue probably has to be healthy. Otherwise, at the very least, it gets a whole lot more complicated and probably gets labeled something else. But these surgeries are not cosmetic and are not mutilation, and transition is not cosmetic and is not a luxury, because it's a product of dysphoria. And the DSM-5, and I'm pretty sure DSM stands for Diagnostic Standards of Medicine, I'm not sure, but I do know that it is the most recent medical, I guess, textbook for professionals, but it's like what everyone in America, and I think other places, goes by with diseases. It's like the code for doctors. The DSM-5 has gender dysphoria listed as a legitimate medical condition, and the recommended treatment for gender dysphoria is transition. Because time and time again, transition has shown, when coupled with a supportive environment, it has shown to be a successful course of like intervention. And when people don't transition, they become miserable or remain miserable sometimes. And trans people who don't transition have incredibly early mortality rates. High mortality rates? I don't know. They die early. And also, to like my trans people out there, your transition might look different from other people's. Especially if you're non-binary, but even binary trans people. Your journey is different because your dysphoria is different. Everybody's is complex. So, just because you and somebody else who identifies the same way don't have the same things on your, like, to-do list, or just because you're not doing them in the same order, doesn't mean that one of you is invalid. Just means you're two different people. Also, your dysphoria levels can change based on things you've done in the past, different people you've met, how out you are, if you move to a more or less accepting climate. All sorts of things can change it. So if you suddenly wake up and find yourself more at peace or less at peace, that's okay too. Doesn't make anything else you've experienced invalid. Also doesn't invalidate your current feelings. Let me know if you want a part 2 to this, where I talk about my own stuff, or ask any questions in the comments. I tried to keep this under 10 minutes. We'll see how short it got in the editing. I hope you have a great day.